first of all, a very good evening, morning, and afternoon to all of you who have joined us today. And thank you for joining in on again on a Saturday evening, evening in India, at least it is. The workshop today is around a very interesting topic and something which we as designers, or I believe not as a designer, as every individual struggles with. It is around how to make your products, be it in terms of design, be it in terms of development, or even getting that first scratch idea, how to make it simpler. So what is, before we start, I just want to ask all of you a question. What is the first thing that comes in your mind when you think about making products simpler? What is that first thing? More than a click. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Cool. Okay. And to help us understand and make us, and who has been doing this for, I think, a long, long time, we have Vidhunnan with us. He's an award-winning designer who is really passionate about designing meaningful experiences to impact people's lives and drive businesses through design. Vidhunnan believes simplicity is the key to creating a unique experience and a way to build products. He's an advocate for user-first design and strongly believes privacy and transparency matter in every product we design. Vidhunnan, a very warm welcome to you. Welcome to ProApp workshops. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like, good evening for people who are joining from India or like in the Asian countries, and good afternoon and good morning to everyone across the world. Right. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. I'm so excited to talk about simplicity, which is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and also one of my core like topics which I relate to a lot in as in like generally like how I design things and also how I look into design also. Simplicity. So making products simpler. So that's the topic that we are going to today. But before that, I'll just like give a quick introduction about myself. Like I think Radhika did a fantastic job. It's definitely all the points that she have got, but I'll just give you what I exactly doing and what I'm at right now, and I'll just share like few things. So I'm Vidhunnan Murugan, like, but I also go by Wits. So if you have seen me any social media, like I would call like Wits, or like Wits is my short name. That's what I prefer to everyone to call also. So I'm a product designer with Big Basket right now, and a mentor with ADP List, and also Designers Academy. And also I like to create, not a full-time content creator, but I'm a content creator who shares tips on like product promotion, productivity. As like productivity, right? Like I'm a huge enthusiast on productivity, and also how can we make our lives which is simpler in the productivity terms. So as in the one belief which I want to share and I want to follow to everyone before I start is like learning and sharing each other has to be part of our life, because the more we share, the more we learn. This is my core belief on like as in like how I take approach in most of the things. So being said that, I'll just give a quick puzzle now, right? So you guys can answer in the chat. I will look at the chat. I'll respond to all the answers. But let's say like you have a micro oven where I ask every one of you to heat up 40 sandwiches. What do you do? What is that one key feature that you need to perform this task? Or what is the one key like option that you need to perform this task? Let's see like what you guys think. We'll wait for like maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, then I'll go forward. But what do you guys think? What is the one key thing you want? Like in the interface of Micron, what is the one key thing you want? Electricity? Oh, absolutely yes, of course. Let me rephrase a little bit. What is the one key feature that you want? And also, we'll try to simplify the entire micro ovens like the interaction. What is the one key feature you want, which simplifies the whole operation that you can do with the micro oven? Display unit, okay. Sure. What's the keep coming, guys? I'm looking for more forwards. Yeah. So I'll repeat the question again. So if I want all of you to heat 40 sandwiches, right? What do you do? And what is the key feature that you want, like you need to perform the action? But also try to simplify that with one option. Like you need only one option on the micro oven, which you need to perform the action of heating 40 sandwiches. That's the question. Prashant, I think you got, did I clear the question? Yeah, not to rotate the timer set. Exactly, right? So that's the one thing that we need. Remaining everything, we don't need to perform action. So doesn't matter whether it's 40 sandwiches or 18 sandwiches, we need that knob, or we need a time setter. That's it. That's the only thing that we need. So that is the only key factor that that defines the entire microphone, right? The time setter or the knob or the time controller. That's the way of we can simplify all the processes or all the products that we use. What is the key element that we need to perform that entire action? That's what simplicity comes in. And to go forward, so how many of you know what about minimalism? How many of you know a term minimalism before? I mean, you can just raise your hand or just say thumbs up or say yes if you guys know before. Yes. So there is a huge relation between how minimalism has been structured, or what is minimalism and what simplicity is. So I strongly believe minimalism is kind of derived from simplicity, or the concept of simplicity of making products is kind of derived from minimalism because the principles are extremely overlapping. So when we say simplicity, right, which is how we design the product, which is more functional and pushing the design, which is keeping it very functional, what it's needed. So in the minimalism also, we kind of take the same approach, taking the product, what is the core characteristics of the product, how the structure has been designed, what is the core element or personality to that particular product that you're designing minimalism. So these both have so much similarities. Let's talk about the similarities and let's go a little bit for what is where the states of simplicity comes in, right? So the topics I want to talk about, or the topic which is simplicity, is mainly covered in the book called Simple and Useful. But this talks about how we crave for simplicity in a very a chaotic world. So when I say chaotic world, right, we all use Instagram, we all use LinkedIn, we all use different social media platforms. So the content consuming itself is very overwhelming these days. So how we can simplify it? And also we are not wasting any time to reconfigure our smartphones. How many of you not even went to disable a notification in your your phones? There's an option to disable or make it silent, right? So how many of you not even done it? So there are ways to use technology which is designed in a way. So how can we make the technology and who designed to make it work simultaneously, and which just helps users to have a very good kind of experience with the product, and how can we make it very simple for users to use it? So that's what simplicity is. It is an experience of how products are designed and built. So simplicity not just in designs, but also how we are designing that experience, or it's an experience how we are designing products, how we are building products. That's a quote by there's a famous quote by Leonardo da Vinci, who is a famous painter we all know. And there's a quote which is called "Simplicity is an ultimate sophistication." So when we say simplicity, ultimate sophistication, right? So what does it mean? It means simplicity is about should be at its best. There should be no compromises. There should be no any circumstance where we accept anything which is lower than desirable standards. That's what simplicity is the ultimate sophistication means. So what kind of factors might include in simplicity? So it can include what is the real pressure, what is the experience which is we have, what is being uncomplicated and making things not complicated, or not on what are other attributes that we can include to release. All the things have one in common, which is making sure which is very easy to use. So the definition of simplicity might look like this, which is simplicity is an experience how a product is engineered for the ease of use, how it looks, about the character and personality of the product. This is the a definition of simplicity, how how simplicity will impact the design of products, or how we are designing or building the products. So what it means actually. So it doesn't mean simplicity means it doesn't have to be minimal, right? Because the products can be made simple by making it efficient, or making it effectiveness, or making it super effective to use and satisfy the user needs or the goals that they're trying to achieve. So it doesn't have to be minimal, but it has to be made minimal in a way where it helps the users to achieve their goal, or which is very efficient to use, or which is very effective to use. And the second point, what simplicity denotes is easy of use. So when we design a product, we make sure the minimum amount of load, cognitive load and consistency is needed, or what the effort is needed. So when we design a product, making sure how users can take their actions faster. If you're let's say you're buying a cloth, buying electronics in Amazon, okay, right? So how fast you can do it. So it should be very concise. It should be very less cognitive load to make particular action or particular a task that you're trying to complete. And the third point, what simplicity comes is removing unwanted complexity. So when users sees how your product can perform to achieve and make their goals, which helps them to achieve their goals. So remove unwanted complexity, which concept covers what is the kind of things which we can remove from your product. and also making sure them that users are able to achieve their particular goals. So that's what comes under like remove and complexity things. So when we say remove complexity, right? So this might be a scenario you might think of, right? But it's not a scenario. So when we say like, okay, there are like so many things on the screen. Why we need so many things? Let's keep one thing which is going to work. No, it's not going to work because users, every person or every user has different mindsets, right? So I'm going to show an example. So this is an example from Eurostars, like it's a airline brand where we have like two different like interface here. So one you can see is a customer interface, another one you can see employee interface. So there are few differences. Can anyone point out what are the differences here? Just one or two differences should be good. More content on employee interface. Yes, absolutely right. And any more differences? Cool. So why is like more content to the employee interface, right? Because there is two different users are using this platform. Screen layout, yes, exactly. So screen layout comes for content also. So if you are booking a flight ticket, what is needed to perform that action? But if an employee is like booking a flight ticket, he might have more data to him because he is a business expertise user. Like he has the business expertise for that particular airline or particular task to perform. But if you take a customer, he's not an expert in it. He wants to just to book a ticket for himself. So that is the difference that we are seeing it here, right? So that's why like if you see like employee interface will be like very like crowded, like not crowded. It is like have like more information or more data to show to make like a proper action or to help like who like if it is employee is booking a ticket, he might be booking for a customer. Then he needs more data to help the customer to book a particular ticket. But if a customer is booking a ticket, we have to make sure that we are not giving a cognitive load to the customers. And how we are designing the product is like very simple to use. And why it matters? So because of users. So we always have two different set of users or two different set of expertise, right? One we call business expertise, another is called interface expertise. So business expertise are the persons or the person who has knowledge on the area or the topic, right? Because they studied that. They have a business understanding, they have a training, and they have a work experience around it. So that's what we call it as business expertise. Let's say, for example, people who are working in banks, right? So if you people are working in banks, like they have like lot of things that they know by themselves in the terms of technologies or in terms of how the entire banking section works. So it is very easy for them to navigate between different speeds at a certain time, and which is easy for them to perform a lot of actions in a single screen. But if we take the same example for like a person like the user, which is like interface expertise, which is the knowledge of a person who works due to the training or habit of using or from similar experiences. So if you take like users, right, they might use like different apps, but they might not see a lot of things which is not required for them. They will all see is like very concise way of like how the layout works, how the screen looks like, what information that we are showing them to kind of perform action. So that's where the difference between like business expertise and the interface expertise comes. So if you look at it in the graph here, right? So business expertise have a mental model which they are like build a mental models how they approach their task and perform their task or perform their processes. So when you have low business activity starts with okay, how should I do it? But if it goes in a like a larger flow, it only goes of how can I stay in this flow? That's what they consider. If they perform a huge action, they want to stay in that flow, they perform that action, and they want to perform it quickly. But if you go to interface expertise, right? So when we start with like in the low level one, we need like very concise sequence. We shouldn't get like more cognitive. But when it's going a little bit like in the higher level stage, right, we can give a lot of information. We can give heavy information. We can reduce like spacing. We can give like like tons of like keyboard like options or like keyboard navigation, keyboard shortcuts, or we can organize them to like different where how they want to like customize it. So we can like have like different sets of like interface altogether. So, but how it's but both the users are the same user because like once the business expertise grows, the interface expertise also will grow. So, how to maintain this particular expertise? This is the graph that we need to look at it. So here we have on the y-axis we have the interface expertise, and on x-axis we have the business expertise. So the line should be like gradually rising up. It shouldn't just go like immediately to the top, or it should go immediately to the bottom. Because if you go immediately to the top, or if you keep the business expertise low and interface it feels like design is over complicated. We have a lot of information which like user who is using doesn't understand what is happening in the first place. But if you like if you reverse that, right? If you put like, let's say like if you have like so much business expertise, but the interface is very low, then people like, okay, where are the other options? How can I do this particular action? It's hard to find a particular action. So that's what happens. We have to make sure that we are covering in a very good way the entire interface and the business expertise for both the users. It has the right level. So it should be gradually improving across the scale. So before I go into like different steps or like different users, I want to start with a very idea how the entire simplicity or the business and the interface levels like kind of matches. So that's a quote from Don Norman saying that life is complex and tools must match life. So what does it mean, right? So it means people progress in life, and you can start introducing a lot of advanced features, because what happens is once they have like business expertise, it's like they're getting a lot of business expertise in their life, they learn a lot of things which helps them to do the actions faster if we give the options upfront. So user with low business expertise can ignore a lot of options. So we shouldn't give them like the option which is needed for the which is needed for the higher level work. So we have to make sure like both the kind of like graph which like stays in the same place. So this is how like life is also evolving, right? We'll start from very small stuff. We will learn a lot. We will unlearn. We will relearn. This is how it goes, right? So we have to make sure it also stays in a path where users are able to understand both the business level things and also like how the interface also is able to adapt to it. So this is the other example which I want to show, right? So in 2009, Netflix were into renting movies as DVDs, right? But in 2019, they completely changed to online streaming. So you can see both the interface, right? How it's like drastically changed. So in 19, they have like how it works, because we need to explain users how the entire like a business is going to work, how what is their like a kind of like how they want to rent the movies and receive it and they watch and they can return it. But in 2019, it's completely online. So it's a very simple statement. See what's next. Watch anywhere, cancel it anytime. It's a very clear message and start with a very indication like CTA. So it's very super to use because it's only stream. That's what the users need to perform that particular action. So that's how interface also changed based upon what is the business context and what is what we want, how we want to make the user to perform particular action. So this also goes to design tools. So the left side one is the prototype, which is one of the advanced prototyping tool, and the right side is the Figma's prototype windows. So you can see it, right? Like how the different tools are like structured in a way. Where if you see prototype, it's very advanced. It has like a lot of layers. It has different like options involved. There are a lot of lot of options is being like involved there. But if you see like Figma, right, which is very easy to use, it's very clearly to understand what is the options are there. So prototype is primarily focused on people who have like larger expertise and like larger like understanding of the knowledge or the software or the prototyping or what they want to do. So that's why like prototype is like and the tools are focused for prototyping. That's why the tool is like very detail oriented. But if you go to Figma does a lot of things, and prototype is one of the key item in the Figma software. So how it's very easy to use for anyone who is like learning Figma, who is coming into Figma. So that's why we can see a lot of differences between how the entire like structure tool is being structured and how we are like kind of like differentiating between different user sets and different knowledge level expertise also. Any question? If you have any question, just like put on a chat. I will come back. I will have Q&A stream. I'll respond to that. But let me know if you have like any questions in between. Also, like just like you can give a thumbs up. Like if you're able to understand all this, just give a thumbs up around it. Cool. So moving on, right? Let's look at another example, which is our TV remote. So we all kind of like saw this remote and we have used this remote, but what is the evolution happened in TV remote? So this is the traditional TV remote, but we kind of like evolved it from a very small like a remote which doesn't have any buttons or like very minimal buttons, or even some of the remotes is just like under fully voice control, right? So how we are able to do this? What is the evolution happened? How this entire thing happened? What is the process behind it? Or what are strategies to make it happen? That's what we are going to see it now. So what are strategies behind it? So these are the 4 strategies, which is like from the book Simple and Usable. So there are 4 strategies here. One is called remove, organize, hide, and displace. So remove is the strategy where we will try to get rid of all the unnecessary items from the product to back it to core essentials. And organize is to organize in a different groups, which is very easy to for users to understand and users to use also. And hide everything expect the very important things to avoid users distraction. Then displays is like moving unnecessary items into a place by having very like a very few primary interactions. So we will go like one by one. But if you can see like the same TV remote example, this is how it might look like. So remove, we might have removed all the unnecessary things. In organized, we would have organized in a way where different things are like guide and the small like picture and like all the things have been organized in a way. And hide. So things which is not needed, we just like remove it or hide it. And this place is like, okay, we might have moved it to some other place also. So this is how the entire like strategies will work like. So we'll go like in depth through strategy. The first one is remove. So removing clutters allow designers to focus on solving few important problems really well. And also it's allowed users to focus on meeting their goals without any distraction. So this is the entire idea of how remove works or like strategy remove works. So we will try to remove the features which is we'll try to remove features which is like non-essential or what happens is here removing features is not easy also, but we need to find what is the core feature that really needed for the user to perform the action. So what we can do is we can start by removing which are like features which users won't need it or which are like features won't even use that feature. So to avoid any assumptions, right, what we can do is we can talk to users and find out what user doesn't need actually, what users are not even using it. So listen to users, but validate those with some other like data to understand okay, this is needed or not. So and removing is one of the obvious way to simplify to remove what is unnecessary. So here there are different sets of examples from a different like to all the design like it's all the design tools, but from different design tools. Starting with Webflow, and center one is called ReadyMag, and second thing is called and the it's Figma, and third one is Figma, and the fourth one is XD and Sketch and Pitch.com. So we can see it, right? It's all serves the same purpose of like manipulating like elements, design elements especially. But every single thing has very limited things or like things which is needed or organized or removed like certain way to help users to do the things faster. If you take Webflow, see it's all have like labels. But if you take like Figma, which doesn't have labels for all the things. But if you take, let's say, Pitch.com, which has very things which is very needed, very like concise to the point, how it's be like only needed things which is like to perform action. So also don't remove too much, because if you remove too much, then users will feel like it's okay, the design is oversimplified, I can't find my actions or what I want to do. By removing clutter, it will help users to understand, help users to focus what is important them to concentrate at the time. So that's where entire removing strategy comes in. And moving forward, the second strategy is called organize. So that it is one of the great strategies to like for entire simplifying things. So if organization, if often is the quickest way to simplify things, because we can map user patterns, see how they're using the software, how they're using any tool, and we can categorize them or we can organize them. So one of the example here I'm going to show is like, see, there are different sets of like properties are here. So this is one of the product which I worked. It's called Rocketing, which is a design tool. So here, like, which has been organized in a way where like all the things like people use or people use regularly has been organized to a single panel, and always having a good differentiation of good categories, which helps them to understand or distinguish even better. And use different design elements to kind of organize this. You can use numbers, you can use grids, typography, colors, or like different illustrations to use them to kind of organize different elements also. So this is how the entire organization works. And once we set up the entire like organized thing, we can set up desired path for the users to follow. And also make sure that there are different paths for users to follow, because users always won't take the same flow that they've taken before, or they won't exactly take the flow that you designed for. They will find like other ways to do things also. So always have options or like a different paths for users to follow. And third strategy is called hide. So hiding features beginner hatch or a sliding as popular solution to a problem simplifies this. So hiding anything means putting back, and also hiding comes with a very like a barrier or like another like tricky part, which is like if you hide things, it will might become like hard for users to find it, like what like where to find certain options. So we have to be very careful what we are choosing to hide. And hiding features, it's a low cost, but we have to choose what to hide, right? So one of the easiest like or one of the few features that we can hide, right? So profile settings, which is users won't use it like every single time, but it's a necessary feature. So we shouldn't hide it in a very deeper level, but we should make sure we are hiding in a way where users can find it. So this is the same example from the typographic panel itself, where all the required options or all the options which is being used regularly has been shown upfront. But the options which are like not used upfront or options which are very rarely used is been like hidden into an option called more type options. So this will help users to understand okay, there are some options. So giving hints and nudgings are very important when you're hiding certain elements. And the last strategy is displays. So moving unnecessary items into a different place by just keeping having a very few like a primary interactions. So why not like take options or features and use a different place to instead of like showing the same place. So one of the best example is when you're using multiple devices or multiple platforms, you are using mobile, web, and like and also smartphone. So how we can use a like a features which is like only shown in particular device and not shown in different place. So one of the examples which I'm going to show here is this Google from Google Maps. So if you take the web, it's a very like a full richness of experience. You can do all sort of things. But if you go to mobile, you might see like very some of the features which not been implemented in mobile. But if you go to voice, we'll have very limited things. But how we can like do all the things, how we can display between different things comes the entire like how like makes the product simple to use. And consider like when you're designing for multiple devices. So that's what entire display like displays comes in. So that's it from me today. So if you want to connect with me, connect at Vidhunnan.design. If you want to connect with me any social, it's just at Vidhunnan everywhere, and my website is Vidhunnan.design. So thanks everyone. Thanks for so much listening. Now I think if you have any questions that we can take, but before I'll just like stop my sharing so I can see the questions also. Yes.
Where did my camera go? Just a second. Yeah, I think this discontinuity feature is hampering in between the new discontinuity feature from in Mac, right? It is hampering
Oh
and
yeah. Yes.
getting connected
I
with each and every video. Cool. I think before we move ahead to the Q&A section, I'll just take 5 minutes of your time, guys. So, whosoever is new to ProApp, and in fact, whosoever is been using ProApp for so long, I just wanted to give you a quick, realignment to where we are heading. So currently, we have 75 plus design courses and more coming. Like business of design, design for product managers, fine arts, like each and every disciplines of designs which you can think about. We have reached a milestone of completing 65 workshops since last year, since we started in August and last August, and since then it has been 65 workshops.
Namaskar.
Right, so cool. And we conduct them with design experts like Vidhunnan himself. Uh, uh, so we are constantly evolving and are on a mission to make it more accessible and affordable for all. So for our ProApp workshop audience, we are running a special discount on a lifetime membership, which is of 95%. The prices on the app are still higher, but I think just for a workshop I've pasted the link in the chat section. Use this promo code and yeah, take it for lifetime, become a pro for life. I think that's all we want. So I think, yeah, Vidhunan, let's start. Also, one more thing, if you are already a yearly or a monthly premium member, you can reach out to us at support and we can help you upgrade to the lifetime membership. Cool. So guys, question time. Pour in some questions. We have Vidhunan with us for, I think, more than 15 minutes.
If you guys have any questions, put it on the Q&A part or the chat. Anything is fine.
Mhm.
No questions.
No questions so far. Okay, in the meanwhile, I think it was a
Sure.
pretty clear presentation. That might be one of the reasons. So, the question that I want to understand is, uh, what amount of, when we talk about making it simple, right? We saw the difference between the previous remote which we had, and we saw the Apple remote, and I think somewhere in the room I also had that OnePlus TV remote.
Yes.
So sometimes we get into that habit also of, if I press this button, I'll get the feel that I'm actually changing the channel, right? That getting that physical feel. That also might, get lost. Sometimes it get loses during the evolution to the more simpler version of the remote. So, yes, like companies like Apple are working towards it, to making you feel that you are actually using a physical remote, like the button one, by adding sounds and other things, haptics to it. So where do you think they should put a stop or draw that line?
So yeah, I think that line also depends upon very much like what exactly like we want to build to the users, right? Like in the remote example,
Right.
exactly that you said. Like, okay, so right now all the TVs are becoming super smart. Like we there is like other features that helps them to navigate to certain things. Right. So let's say, like, for example, that you want to navigate to a channel, there's a voice interface, like voice like command that you can do. Or you can choose a channel which has like more functionalities what a traditional remote can't give you. Like you can preview the channel even before going into the channel. You can preview what is happening in that particular channel. So those are like other ways of like remote got improved, or like the entire experience got improved. But bringing that especially the tactic or the tactic feel, which is like very important, because that's what it gives the physical like touch. Okay, I'm using a product. I think that might be the next step for the remotes. Like, but also we have like line is drawn based on what kind of users that we are targeting. Because right now, if you see the entire like a smart TV, like all the things are going, it goes in a way where like entire like user audiences, like they know how to use a TV, or they have been using all the products like day in day out. They are a little tech expertise, or like a tech nerds of the like people who are buying like OnePlus, or they're buying like a Apple TV. I think that's where the line is drawn. Okay, people know this, like they know how to use this product because they are using other similar patterns. That's where the
Right.
interface like expertise also comes. I think that's where the line is drawn, making sure it's the experience like very easy for them to use also.
Right. Right. So what's your idea on the universal remote that which we have, which controls everything around? So is it like simpler, or does it make things more complex?
So far, the experience I had with the universal remote didn't like have a great job for me. It's always
Right. Right.
kind of like, let's say, like I'm trying to control TV, but it doesn't control TV. It will control something else. So it's
Right.
always have like some kind of like kind of like a not a very reliable experience. It's had like little like experience which like I don't want to use it right now.
Cool. We have a question. It's how to develop this simplicity mindset. What process should one follow to develop it? That's a good question.
Oh, that's a really good question. So to
Yeah.
have a simplicity mindset, have everything first, try to remove one by one. That is the way, like ideal way to do it, because once you put everything on the screen, or once you put everything what you need, or what are the like things that you can put into a design, then try to understand from the user's point. Like, right, okay, what is really needed to do for users to perform these set of actions. Let's say, right, you want to like order something in Amazon. What is the primary information that you need to like, do that, perform that action? It's always come to what is the task that user is trying to make, or what is the like
Hmm.
a action that they want to or achieve their goal by using their product. So that is the primary like criteria to follow to kind of like create a mindset, or to like remove things from your design also.
Right. Right. I think there's an interesting question in the chat. Any government websites good example for simplicity? I think I posted the UK government's website.
Yes.
So you might have heard about Content Design London, right?
Yes.
They they rebuild this
So
website. So
yeah, so there are like a lot of especially European government websites has very good design, because I have seen a lot of European, or like even like if you take US website, they have a design team for them. So like
right.
comparatively like what we do in India, they have design teams which make sure that they design on they focused on very simplistic and focused on who is going to use the site. And especially for European websites, you can see a lot of simple design on their websites.
Right. Cool. Guys, if you have any further questions, you can always pour in right now. So, Vidhan, how has your journey in design been so far? I I kind of follow you. See like you're very active when it comes to community engagement. That's a very good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the first itself, like it starts right. Like I like to like what's like share a lot and learn from a lot from the entire community, because the way I learned is from different sets of people and different sets of community. So I want to give it back. So that's the way like why I've been like active with so many communities. But my design journey is like I think started. I think like every typical Indian kid started the engineering, which joined
Incinerate.
joined the engineering, then realized, okay, so okay, this is not what exactly I want to do. Then kind of like understood, then kind of like actually stepped on into like animation videos, then kind of gradually explored branding, packaging, publication, everything, then ended up in digital, then moved to product. So that's the like overall experience like I have like all the journey so far with the design. I think we have a question.
Yeah,
In order to
pretty
make
big
TV
one.
smarter, yeah,
It's like,
companies like Apple making uh, canceling of protocols from fast forward at certain timestamp.
go back to a certain timestamp. So is this a good thing going forward or is it a bad thing?
I mean, the timestamp. I think like based on like what I have used so far and what's the experience that I had with all the remotes. I think I kind of like it's very depending on how much you want to use. But there are like very like a features that you can use. For example, if you double tap it, it goes 2x. If you like double tap again, it goes to 4x. So it is depends upon how someone wants to use it. It can be a good thing. Or if you want to find a specific time, that's very hard. Like I understand you can't like use mouse or something to make it that, but that is like not the feature which exists before, like where we use DVDs or anything. Like I mean, there are like few only like DVDs which you can type a timestamp. So that depends upon how much like how many people are using it, right? So that's what like kind of like goes to what is the feature that they are not using it regularly. What is the like how many like a feature that people are not even using at all. So that's where the remove strategy comes in.
Right. It's a good answer, I guess. And I think not just in terms of remote, I would say there are other things. Just consider the example of this Apple mouse, right? They try to make it simple. Like it's a very conflicting thing of adding this
Yes.
charging port towards the end. So they did it so that we can get some break into, from
Yeah.
the task we are doing. But still, it's sometimes if you're in the middle of something and right, if I'm in the middle of the workshop and the battery runs out, like I would be like completely helpless.
True, that's like a two-way argument, right? Like where people say like
Right.
it's a good thing. It takes 2 minutes to charge. Take it like for 2 minutes. But hey, if I could have finished the 2 minutes, I would have sent something. Like why not? So yeah, I can understand it. Making a user
Creating
thinks there is very
products.
less features on the product. Cool. So creating products simpler and makes like user think that there are less features in the product. So that is should be the case. Like if user thinks if features are less, then that means the product is not in a desirable format or it's not even the MVP stage. So people like have like people should be able to perform their actions based on what is the future or like perform all the actions with the future that the product provides. If the user is not able to perform a future like an action using that product, then that means the feature should get added or should be in the roadmap in the pretty like in the soon stage. So like that's also comes in like in the terms of how the entire product roadmap has been built, right? It's like because we want to see whether the feature has been going or not. Because if you put so much like effort or like if you're kind of like going putting so much effort in development, if people are not using it, then the entire like a cost and everything has been like been how like the development time, everything has been like kind of wasted. So we have to make sure that people are using it. So more, if the future is not exactly included, then that means the product has to get the future, which is if it's going to help the user, yes, of course, the future should be added soon.
And also, I think it's more of an Asian mentality. Even if you see, other apps of other Asian countries, you'll see like a lot of things stuffed in a very small interface. So to
True.
make them understand that there are more to it, there's more to it.
Yeah.
Is there any drawback of minimalism when it comes to digital design? It's the
So
another question.
drawbacks, it might be like let's say like if you're a new user, if it is designers like we are making like very like let's say like Apple TV remote itself. Like if it is a new user, then it might become like little tricky. Okay, how can I use this remote to let's say like I want to like set up my Wi-Fi, because those are things which might little drawback, but it's also like there is always will be the learning curve on the interface expertise, right? So that curve should be like go or should be like that, but it's easy to learn also. So that should be little like a learning curve. Let's say like for example the like a Webflow, right? So Webflow is very amazing tool. It's like it's one of the best no code tool that we have used so far. But there is a learning curve for everyone who might not able to understand the CSS architecture. So that is the learning curve which comes for like all the products when we are designing or when we are trying to push the experience like one level like up.
Right. Cool. I think we've answered all the questions so far, I believe. Yeah,
Awesome.
awesome. So thank you so much, Vidhunnan, for doing this with us and on such an amazing topic. I think this is something which we have never done before because we've learned about UX design, UI design, animation, interactions, illustration, but we tend to forget the main thing, how to make it simpler to use, easier to use. So thank you for picking up such an amazing topic. And I would take the liberty of adding your LinkedIn profile to the chat so that people can reach out to you. Uh,
Sounds good.
Once if they have anything else to speak about. And thank you so much for doing this. Have a
Thank you
great
so
day.
much for Thank you so much for having me. It's been an amazing pleasure. And thanks everyone for joining on a Saturday evening, especially or spending your time like almost an hour listening to the topic. Thanks you very much for joining. Thanks everyone. Have a great weekend. If you're starting or have a great Sunday tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.